Hey, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. I'm going to see if I can get my lighting a little bit better. Come on in. Come on in. This will be perfect lighting. Like, that's it. But I'm not going to sit and hold this like this. Y'all, come on, come on. Yeah, it just needs to be higher. Like, I need the tall ring light. That's what I need. This one is floppy a little bit. Y'all, come on in. Come on in. Let's see if I can light from the side. Light from the side. It's not the same. Lighting is everything, y'all. Hey, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. Let me go ahead and share. Good morning, Donnell. Hey, how are you, gorgeous? Good to see you. Let me share. Hey, Jackie. Alabama in the house. Come through, Alabama. Come through. Let me see this. Let me share. Bam. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, God, so good. The wonders of technology, y'all. The wonders of technology. You guys, I am in South Carolina. Yay. I'm in South Carolina. Super excited. Oh, that's not right. That's not the right Wi-Fi. Super excited for this word today. Um, get this. Let me forget that. Y'all listen. So today I'm talking about being double-minded. Talking about being double-minded. So as we are going through this journey called life, we can find ourselves in positions that really should be on the laptop. That's what that is. Oh, I don't know if I can do it from the laptop. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna worry about it. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. But anytime we talk about being double-minded, we're talking about not walking in truth, um, the truth of something, right? If you're double-minded, you think this and that, right? Now this is the reality. We're in a place where God is literally doing some new things in our lives. And we can hold on to the old stuff, but in holding on to the old stuff, we deny the power of the new stuff. So when we hold on to the old stuff, we deny the power of the new stuff. So when we get to the point where we finally are able to walk this thing called life out, honestly, openly, knowing that God is for us and not against us, it should alleviate some of our double mindedness. Okay. Good morning, April. How are you, gorgeous? So, in the book of James, verse chapter 1, verse 8, it says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways." Now, I want you to think about this. Now, we normally think about people being double-minded when they are going back and forth. They can't make a decision, yada, yada, yada. But how many times have we been the double minded man in the situation? Double minded in that God said one thing and we said we believe him, but then we move like we don't believe him. So, which is it? Do you believe him or do you not believe him? The reality is, I believe way more of us are double minded than we want to admit are double minded. We think that because we're not double minded about who Christ is, we're not double minded at all. But that's not true. Because we know who he is doesn't mean that we automatically know who we are in him. We don't necessarily understand our relationship. We don't really understand that when the word of God says, "For ye are gods," with the lowercase g, we're like, oh no, that's blasphemy, right? That doesn't mean that I'm a God. It doesn't mean that I'm a God. It means that, I don't know what it means, but it means something other than that. No, it means that you are a God with a little g. It means that you have the same creative life force, life power, creative power that God with a big G has. He's given it to us. The same things that Jesus did, our elder brother, we have authority to do those same things. Authority. It's our birthright to be able to do those things. In fact, Jesus said this. He said, and greater works than these, the ones that he had done, shall you do. So I don't know. He's had great exploits. He raised the dead. He caused the blind to see, the deaf to hear, the mute to talk, the leper to be cleansed. Like he did all of these things. Listen, come on, y'all. What he did all these things, and we can't even accept that we are God. Oh, because it sounds like God with the big G, even though it's God with the lowercase g. It means he resides in us and we have the authority and the power to move like he moves. Now, look, I'm not even about a debate or an argument about it. Let me tell you what I'm about. I'm about what would happen if the children of God really understood who we were. Like if we really operated in the earth as God has created us to operate. There would be things that we would not have in this earth. Why? Because we would have spoken against it. We would have pulled down, cast aside, bound, loosened. We would have done the things that we needed to do in order for us. That's why our position is so powerful. It says in the word that the prayers of the righteous availeth much. The righteous is not the people who are perfect. The righteous is the people who are covered by God. See, his blood makes us righteous. Jesus makes us righteous. It is not us in and of ourselves that make us righteous. It is the sacrifice that makes us righteous, but we are righteous. And in that righteousness, our prayers availeth much. They get much done. Not those routine prayers that we do, not those prayers where we say, oh God, our Father, would you come by us today? Not those prayers. I'm talking about those genuine conversations with God. Listen, those conversations with God that say, God, listen, I know you said to do this. I want to do it. God, I believe, but help my unbelief. See, that's the fact of the matter. The reason we're double-minded is we have some disbelief in us. It's not a sin to have disbelief. It's not a sin to have disbelief. It's a sin, though, not to do what God says do, right? So we've got to understand that in our journey, in our walk, in our being, in our doing, the greatest thing that we can do is believe God. Believe him. Believe what he says about us. Believe what he says for us. Believe God. And believing God means that we're going to walk like we believe him. We're going to talk like we're going to believe him. We're going to move like we believe him. We're going to believe him. If we believe him on this, we need to believe him on that. But we believe in our head, but we don't believe in our heart. We believe in our head. You know how I know we believe in our head? We're able to articulate all the right things, say all the right things, write all the right things. But we do all of that and still have no power. There's a disconnect somewhere. There's a lack of belief somewhere. See, Jesus understood that in disbelief, in a room full of disbelief, it was difficult, more difficult to do the miracles that God had called him to do. So he would often clear rooms out so that it would just be the three. Peter, James, and John. Just the three, right? Because listen, there's going to be more belief in those three because they've seen more, they're closer to him. So he's like, okay, these three can handle it. All those other ones, all that disbelief shooting at you. So you're wondering why you haven't advanced, but you got a lot of disbelief surrounding you. You got a lot of people who don't believe in you around you, speaking disbelief over you, telling you what you can't do. You got to cancel those things. See, it doesn't matter what the world says. It doesn't matter what the rules say. What matters is what God says. And if God said do it, do it. If God said that's who you are, that's who you are. So you need to stop allowing the world and the rules of this earth to dictate. We're not governed by those rules. We operate not just in the natural, but in the spirit, and the spirit supersedes the natural. So we're allowing physical laws to limit us when we serve an unlimited God. What kind of sense does that make? It doesn't make any. So I want to let you know I'm sick of being double-minded. I'm sick of me being double-minded. Sick of me being double-minded. You may not be double-minded, but I'm sick of me being double-minded. And do you know how I'm double-minded? Do you know how I know that I'm double-minded? There are things that God has promised me that have not shown up. There's some disbelief somewhere. Something is out of sync. Something is out of order. So it is upon me to figure out, okay, what's off? Something's off here. Something's off. What's off, right? And as I discover what's off, then I can allow God to help those areas where I have disbelief. It has taken me a long time to really believe that I am even who God says I am in the spirit world, in the order of things. It's taken me a long time to accept that, because a lot of people have told me what I wasn't, what I can't do, right? And I began to believe, and then I allowed the opinions of others to override what God told me. See, I hear very clearly from God, and I know what God told me. So I know who He told me I am. And see, when He told me who I was, like, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be none of that. Okay. I didn't ask for it. I don't want it. So it created this whole cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological term. Cognitive dissonance basically means that you believe one thing, but you do something else. So your belief and your actions are not matching. They're not matching. So when your beliefs and your actions are not matching, it creates a disconnect. Like you're like, wait a minute, something is off, and I can't quite get it because I believe this, but I'm doing this. Huh? That'll make sense, right? So we have to change something. Either we're going to change our belief or we're going to change our action. But something will have to change so that it'll become in alignment. Now, once it's in alignment, you can move forward, because how can two walk together unless they agree? Even if the two is you, your split personality, your belief side and your disbelief side. Listen, this is one of the things I tell you. People cannot believe in horoscopes and all that. That's fine. But I know this: people who are born under certain times have certain tendencies and proclivities, right? And until they address them, that they good and bad, positive and negative, both exist. But some stuff, right? Like if you've ever dealt with a Gemini, most Geminis really do have two personalities. You don't know which person you're gonna get, right? So when there is a fusing together of identities, that's when we create a level of wholeness where there is not room for cognitive dissonance. Many of us are like those Geminis, those split personalities, because on the one hand, we believe God in this area of our life. I'm guilty of it. I'm telling y'all about me. You may not be that person, but I'm talking to me. So on one side, you believe God in this particular area. But over here, you believe him, but you don't believe him, right? Your disbelief outweighs your belief. And it's much like Thomas. This is why Thomas said, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. He knew that there was still some unbelief in him. He knew that there were some things that he was not, I don't quite know about, but I know I believe in you. Those areas and those places where there's disbelief, remove that from me. Remove that part from me. That part that I'm not quite sure about. That part that I'm not if I'm not clear on. Okay. So remove the disbelief so that I can operate fully in belief, so that I can do and be who you've called me to be, God. I'm just talking about that disbelief. That disbelief that hinders you from going all in on something God has told you to be believe to do, or to believe, or to produce, or whatever. Disbelief. I can't really do this. And if I really try all out and go real hard, then what if it doesn't happen? And then, everyone will know. No, no, these are the times. These are the times when we have to be clear about what God is saying to us and go all in, not part of the way, all in. It means that we can't allow anything to interfere. And I've been guilty of that. I've allowed other things to interfere. I've allowed my fears to interfere. I've allowed my feelings of inadequacy to interfere. I allowed the imposter syndrome to interfere. I've allowed things to interfere that didn't have a right to interfere, except that I gave them permission. When things began to interfere, when distractions come, you have to give it permission. You got to give it permission to take you off course. It cannot take you off course if you don't give it permission. Yes, Monica. Monica said, I'm all in. You got to be all in for you the way we get all in for other people. Do you know that we will go all in for other people harder than we will go for ourselves? It's the most insane thing that I've ever seen, but I think that it's rooted in this sense of false humility. See, we've been taught that to be humble means to not talk about yourself, or not advocate for yourself. We've been told that being humble is all of these things that it's not. And so now we've got a false sense of humility that often interferes with our ability to do what God has called us to do, the way he's called us to do it, with the boldness that he's called us to do it with. People talk about my boldness. They say, Dr. B, you're so bold. I just wish I had some boldness. Like, well, this boldness cost me. This boldness cost me relationships. It cost me um, seasons of aloneness. It's cost me. This boldness has cost me. And it may cost me now, but listen, hey, it cost me what it cost me. I'm willing to pay the price. Why? I know on the other side of the price is the promise. On the other side of the pain is the promise. On the other side, there's the promise. And I want the promise so badly, I'm willing to deal with the other stuff. See, our problem is the promise doesn't look good enough for us. You know how I know? Because if it did, we do everything we could do to get to it. Monica said that's usually what I do, but it's my time, so they're gonna be sick of me. Amen. I'm telling you, you got to understand that. Now, y'all check this out. I want y'all to hear me, and I want you to hear me well, because what I'm about to say can be life transformative if you will apply it. What I'm about to say can be life transformative if you apply it. So check this out. What if you declared the promises of God over your life consistently, day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out? Do you think that the enemy, the tricks of the enemy, what's going on with the enemy, what the enemy is doing, would have the level of power that it has currently had in your life? Do you think that you really could doubt God, right? If you really recited the promises of God, not just said them, but I'm talking about internalize the promises of God into your life. It could be a promise a day, right? However you do it, but a promise that you hold on to, a promise that you like latch on to like for dear life. See, the reality is this. The reality is when we lack belief, God can't move. He can't move. You want to minimize your sin? Increase your belief. Listen, when you start to believe what God says in certain areas of your life, you will move differently. God will shift some things inside of you. The more you focus on him, the more you meditate on him, the more you, and I'm not talking about becoming a religious zealot. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about coming zealous about your relationship with God, your personal relationship. I'm not talking about church. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about groups. I'm talking about your relationship with God, yours, your personal one, the one that shows up where you're literally driving down the highway and all you can do is thank him. You look at how he's brought you through a situation and all you can do is thank him. You look at how he's holding and protecting your family and all you can do is say thank you. Like, and just have a whole conversation with him. You see, I talk to God very real. I talk to God very real. Why? Because he knows me and he knows my heart. So ain't no sense in me trying to say it no other way than the way that I would normally say it, because he already know what I mean when I say what I say. Okay. So when we get out of the pretense, when we begin to talk to God from our heart, from really where we are, listen, sometimes I'm pissed at God. I am pissed off at God. Sometimes I am angry and upset with God. Yes, I am. Listen, y'all running around here trying to act like y'all ain't mad with God when y'all know y'all mad with God. So now God can't even heal that place where you're angry. He can't even deal with that thing for real. Why? Because you won't even acknowledge it. You're like, no, I'm good. Good. And he knows on the inside that you're upset with him about something and you won't acknowledge it. So you think by not acknowledging it, it's like it doesn't exist. It still exists. It still exists. Just because you act like it doesn't exist, just because you pretend it doesn't, just because you can fool the world, you cannot fool God. We can't fool God. God knows everything about us. And because he knows everything about us, he's able to minister to those things in ways that we wouldn't even realize we need. He will order our steps so intuitively, so amazingly, so strategically that we don't even realize why we had to stop at the store that we stopped at, but we stopped at the store to interact with someone who needed something that we had at the moment. Listen, I'm trying to tell y'all something. We think that all of the decisions that we make are minute and unmeaningful and have no purpose, but it's not true. God orders our every step, and because he orders our every step, he knows what's going to happen every step along the way. Every decision you're going to make, every turn you're going to make, he already knows that. So why are you continuing to act like God don't know? Like he don't know the areas of your struggle. Like he don't know where you have disbelief. Like he don't know that your self-esteem has been impacted by the things that people have spoken over your life all your life, because you internalized it and you began to believe it. So on the one hand, in your head, you're saying, I'm an amazing person. I'm a boss. I'm a leader. I'm this. I'm the righteousness of God. Listen, in your heart, you don't. In your heart still resides the messages that you heard as a child, where you were told over and over again what was wrong with you. And I don't care who said it, whether it was a parent, a sibling, an aunt, uncle, cousin, teacher, preacher, Sunday school teacher, the minister of music. I don't care who said it. The fact that people spoke certain things over your life, you need to check to see that you internalize it. And you'll know you internalize it because certain things will trigger it. So you'll think it's about something that someone did or said when it's not about them at all. Really, it is about this trauma that you experienced in childhood. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his or her ways. So, on the one hand, God says that I'm this amazing person, that I'm the apple of his eye, that um, he looks at me. He looks at my image in his hand, and he's so happy to see me. He loves me unconditionally, unequivocally. It was difficult for me to believe that God could love me like that when I didn't feel like my parents loved me like that. I felt like my daddy could only see what was wrong with me, and I felt like my mama didn't want me. So if you're feeling like you're not wanted, if you're feeling like it's just stuff wrong with you, then it makes it difficult to believe how God sees you when your parents, your natural parents, you don't feel like they see you like that. Monica said, "Did you sneak and read my book in the spirit?" I think you eavesdropping on me and my mama this morning. Listen, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it is in the moment when we really begin to deal with what's at the root of those issues that we have, that fear of abandonment, that fear of failure, that fear of success. Anything that is a fear that is rooted in us comes from somewhere. On the one hand, we say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And on the other hand, we don't do what God has told us to do because we're afraid to do it. So how is it that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us? But then when God tells us to do something, we don't do it because we really don't believe we can. So we are believing something. We have belief, but our belief is not as strong in what God has said as it is in what others have told us or what we've come to believe about ourselves. Today, I came to break some shackles off you and set you free and tell you you don't have to be double-minded anymore. You can literally fuse your identities. You can say, God, I believe, help my unbelief. You can say, God, listen, I know you told me to do this, but people have always said this, so I need your help. And then you recite the word of God over and over in your mind and your spirit, out your mouth. You declare it over your life. You speak it until you believe it. There were some things that I needed to believe about myself, so I had to say it out loud. I had to say it on Facebook Live. I had to say it so that I could hear it and I could begin to internalize it. Now, people may think, Dr. V, you don't have to keep saying the same thing. I do, because I might not be saying it for you. I may be saying it for me. They say when you say certain things, they say, who are you trying to convince? Absolutely. That's the question. Who are you trying to convince? Sometimes we've got to convince ourselves of things that are true because God said it, because of the things that others have said that were lies that we internalized as our truth. It became our truth. It became deep rooted inside of us because people that we loved and we respected said it. So we started to believe it. Well, maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I am selfish. Maybe this, maybe that. We begin to internalize it, and it begins to cause us to doubt God and what God said to us. So we feel like we're are unequipped, that we're not good enough, that we're not enough. Not being enough is one of the number one things that interferes with people's success in life, period. It's one of the most commonly believed things of people. It is a commonality. It cuts across race, gender, sexual orientation, age, all of these things. It cuts across all of that feeling of not being enough. Why? The enemy designed the world to create mechanisms to make us feel like we weren't enough, because if we ever understood who we are in God and who God is in us, then we would change things. If we really understood what happened at the Tower of Babel, then we would understand that we have the ability to come together on one accord and do anything that we set our minds to. Good, bad, indifferent. We have the ability to do it. So now that we find ourselves as adults in a place where God is calling us to do some things on a level that we don't feel comfortable, we want to back up. We're going to be like, well, somebody else can do that. See, I understand that. I've been double-minded with the school. I've been double-minded. I don't know. Like, oh no, like it's a lot. I don't know. But because I've made a decision to not be double-minded, I'm able to get things done. I'm able to move things. I'm able to move forward. You can't be double-minded. You can't be double-minded. See, it's in our double-mindedness that we find ourselves unable to tap into the fullness of what God has in store for us because we double-minded. We believe, but we don't believe. So we don't go all in. It's like taking a test. You study for the test, but you don't believe that you're going to pass the test because it's a math test and you're not good at math. That's your declaration. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math. So inside you feel like it doesn't matter whether you study or not. You're not going to do good on the test because you're not good at math. So you have made a belief for you. And so because of that belief, you then begin to prepare less. You don't prepare as much. Like you go in like expecting the worst. And so because you expect the worst, you get that. And then you use it as support for the self-fulfilling prophecy that you've spoken over your life. Change what you say. We got to change what we say. Change what we say. When we change what we say, we change what we believe. The more we hear it, the more it gets into our spirit, into our psyche, the more we can believe it. The more we see things lining up the way that we are declaring and not in the way that we think. I always say head knowledge is information, but heart knowledge is transformation. When you know in your heart, like listen, I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm telling you. A lot of times, yes, self-sabotaging. My God, absolutely, Corey, you got to be open. Monica said, my God, it has kept me so bound that it's taken me over 25 plus years to finally publish my first official book on the world scale. Yes. Head knowledge is information, but heart knowledge creates transformation. See, that's why we can go to all of these conferences, all of these workshops, do all of these courses. We've got all of this head knowledge, right? This information that's in our head, but it hasn't penetrated our heart that it really applies to us. When it penetrates your heart and you understand it really applies to you, then you can make the necessary adjustments. Good morning, sissy. So the moment you start to change what you say and what you hear, y'all, this is gonna help somebody. Just gonna help somebody. Y'all, I gotta make an adjustment because my leg is. I knew that was gonna fall, but listen, I can't worry about it. let me say this to y'all. Let me say this because I need y'all to understand this. I need you to get this. Good morning, man of God. How are you? So listen, I want y'all to hear me very clearly. I say this and people don't believe it, right? There was a time when I was really confident in my ability to do things. My faith was at a high. Like I just believed that God would do anything. Like I just believed him. I just believed him. I had crazy belief in God. And life happened. God told me to do some things. I did them. It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. Life happened. God told me to, pour into people. The people betrayed me, lied on me, destroyed relationships I had with other people. Life happened. God told me to open a school. I opened the school. I opened it with boldness. And then people didn't do what they said they were going to do. And it didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out. Life happened. And the more life happens, the more we have a tendency to allow little fears to set root in us. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go all out because what if it doesn't happen? I don't want to really hire staff because when I hired staff before, I wasn't able to pay them because the money didn't come through the way that I thought the money was going to come through. Life happened. You don't want to take risks. So you try to operate on the safe side. You don't want to advertise. You only want to deal with people that know you because you don't want anything to happen that's going to destroy anything or anybody. Because life happened before. Life happened before. Life happened before. So you do those things so that you sabotage yourself and say, see, that's why. That's why I don't. That's why I don't. That's why I don't. That that right there is why I don't. That right there is why, I just I just can't. That right there. Do you know there's always going to be a that right there? All throughout your life, in every area of your life, there's going to be an example of someone or something that did not work, that did not turn out the way that you wanted it to. But I'm going to tell you something. There's error until there's not. Do you know how liberating that is to me? Listen, let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this. Our whole conception of sin and how to deal with sin, we have this very idealistic view of dealing with sin in the church. And I say idealistic because sometimes it happens like that for some people, but for most people it doesn't, right? Oh, you just make a decision and then you just don't do it no more. Well, listen, I don't know what you've done that feels good to you that you just stopped automatically, like bam, right? But it doesn't happen like that for most people. So you know what I learned? And I took this from this movie yesterday. Like, this really helped me like think about sin, because the more pressure you put on yourself not to sin, the more likely you are to sin. Isn't that crazy? But the more you focus on a thing, the more likely you are to do it, right? So I said, okay. In the movie, it said, there's error till there's not. There's error until there's not. There's failure until there's not. In other words, there are things that are going to happen until it doesn't. How liberating is that? How liberating is that to think that instead of focusing on not sinning, that if I just focus on being who God has called me to be, I just focus on that and then I sin until I don't. One day you wake up and you have absolutely no desire for that thing that you once craved. One day you wake up and you realize that it's not driving your life like it once did. One day you wake up and you don't even know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, as you were walking like the 10 lepers were walking, when Jesus told them, you're healed, now go show yourself to the priest. And they left and they were still covered with leprosy, and they were covered with leprosy, and they were covered with leprosy until they weren't. It's not like it was a single incident. Now, Jesus has done it both ways. He's done it both ways. He's done it so that immediately there was healing. Immediately they were free. Immediately. But he's also done it where he said, go do this, and it's going to happen. See, the beauty of God is he's not a one-way God. He does whatever needs to be done for the person that needs it. He does whatever he needs to do for the person that needs it. Absolutely. The more we focus on a thing, the more we draw it into our life. There's error until there's not. There's failure until there's not. So we get so hard on ourselves, us with our perfectionistic tendencies, right? We don't want to make mistakes. I know I hate making mistakes. I hate getting in trouble. I just do not like it. I've never liked it. I've never wanted to get in trouble. I always wanted to be good, even though my knowledge or my conception of good may be different from someone else's. I don't like being in trouble. I don't like getting chastised. I don't like having to get corrected. I don't like it. I'm just telling y'all about me. I don't like it. So because I don't like it, I would try so hard to be perfect. Perfect. I would try so hard to be perfect until the weight of trying to be perfect and not being able to accomplish it, because I'm very goal driven. If I set a goal, I want to accomplish it. Created cognitive dissonance. Something's got to change. Either I'm not really this person, or it ought to be showing up differently in my life. We've been so double-minded. But can I help you for a minute? Absolutely. In everything that happens in life, we either get lessons or blessings, and we need both. We need both. We need lessons. Why? Lessons teach us what not to do or what to do. Blessings reward us for doing a thing, right? So when we get the reward, you can't just be excited when you get the reward. You got to embrace the lessons for real. Come on, Monica. Hey, Jessica. I love you too, beautiful. I just refuse to beat myself up. I'm not beating myself up over anything. I don't care how bad it looks to the world. I'm not beating myself up. I'm literally taking my journey. And if that makes people uncomfortable, it makes them uncomfortable. That's their business. That's their issue. It's not mine. Now, I can remember saying that, but then still struggling with it very heavily. Now, does it still hurt? It does. But I'm just telling y'all, I just am in a place. See, I wasn't in this place until I was. I said it long enough until it penetrated my heart and my mind to create a transformation in how I move, a transformation in how I receive things. Now, it can hurt, but it is what it is. I can go through something, and just because I keep going doesn't mean I don't care, but it means that I'm not getting ready to stay stuck in that place. So people interpret that as you don't care, you're cold-hearted. Now, I'm not cold-hearted. My blood runs very warm. It's tender. My heart is tender. I feel it, and I may even bleed. But what I've decided to do is I'm not going to allow myself to bleed out over something that I don't have control over. I have control over one thing, and that's me. I don't have control over my children. I don't have control over any of my exes. I only have control over me. And because I have control over me, I'm going to control that. So what I'm not going to do is beat myself up. You all listen, I don't know who told you that beating yourself up makes you a better person. I don't know who told you that when you put lashes on your own back, that means that somehow you're better than someone who just simply learns the lesson and keeps moving. I don't know who told you that, but it's a lie from the pit of hell. It's not. So I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to accept the lashes that you try to put on me, nor the lashes that I try to put on myself. And I'm not talking about eyelashes. I'm talking about punishment. I mean, listen, I don't listen. See, when Jesus says, listen, my God, because I want y'all to get this. When Jesus said he died once for all our sins, past, present, and future, why am I going to continue to try to kill myself because I sinned when God clearly knew I was going to sin? That's why he sent Jesus. Come on, somebody. No, instead, let me not focus so much on beating myself up about the sin, but let's figure out why does this sin keep occurring? What is this thing? What's at the root of this? Because I promise you there's something at the root of it. And when you deal with the root, the other stuff will begin to, it's like my desire for ice. When you crave ice, there's something literally that your body is missing. Your body is seeking something. Your body always craves something that it needs. That may not be in the form that it needs it, but it always craves something that it needs, right? So you have to learn how to identify what your body needs. And you can't if you're beating yourself up, because then you internalize that to mean that you're just a bad person. No, you're not just a bad person. There's something that you've got to face, something that you've got to address, something that you have to deal with that keeps you in a cycle and in a loop. The only way you're going to get out of the loop is you got to identify what is the problem. Now, you may kind of come out of the loop a little bit, but the loop is going to circle back around. It's going to pick you back up. Why? You haven't dealt with the root. You got to deal with the root. There's a book titled It Didn't Start With Me. It didn't start. Most of the stuff in your life, those generational curses, didn't start with you. There's a lot of stuff that you do that you don't even realize it didn't start with you. It literally has been transferred through your DNA, through your cultural experiences. Now, see, listen, people say that, oh, it's not the DNA. Listen, we still have trauma from slavery. That's DNA. I'm talking about it's wired in us. There are certain reactions that we make, certain things that we do that are wired in us, in our DNA, because of the trauma of our ancestors. But similarly, in that same DNA, listen to me. Yeah, there's the result of the trauma of slavery. There's the result of the trauma of our ancestors as they went through slavery. But guess what? There also is in our DNA. Also in our DNA is the overcoming, the victory, the creativity, of the ability to establish things like heart surgery, to have all of these ideas and inventions, to be kings and queens and pharaohs. And listen, I'm trying to tell y'all something. There's all of this greatness that's in our DNA, and we focus more on the things that are flawed than the things that are great inside of us. And so what we focus on begins to grow. Now, I'm not saying that you don't address it, because clearly I just said you need to find what's at the root of the trauma. But the way you do that is by loving yourself through the process. Love yourself through whatever it is you're going through. Listen, I don't want to beat y'all up. I'm not here to beat y'all up. I'm not here to say, oh, see, you're a horrible person because you did. No, 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 no. No, I can love you through whatever it is that you're going through. I can love you, and you can do some jacked up stuff and be jacked up, but I still love you. Why? Because I know it didn't start with you. It didn't start with you. You are simply replicating something that has been passed down generationally, whether you are consciously aware of it or whether it is simply in your DNA, whether you were actively around it or whether it was simply in your DNA. The time, though, has come for you to stop being double-minded, for you to stop, beating yourself up. Yes, Jessica, it's time to break the chains. Monica said, I'm not punishing myself anymore. I'm getting to the root of my issue so that I can live, love, and be free. Exactly. And your freedom will intimidate people. Your freedom will frustrate people. They'll be like, why are you free, but I'm not free? Why can she do this or he do this, but I can't do that? Listen, we have different freedoms. We have different range of what God will allow us to do. We do. Now, listen now. Don't be trying to do what somebody else is doing because they're doing it. You better know what your realm is, because God has a grace that's yours, right? You may not be graced to do certain things, so don't do it, okay? But understand this, you don't have a right to judge someone who is graced to be able to operate over there and still God love them and use them. You don't have to, no, don't do it. It's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for you. This thing just falling. It's not going to be good for you. So, amen, Monica. You are healing us to reach the manifestation of God's promises, because that's what matters. Y'all, you can't heal beating yourself up. You can't heal rehearsing the same bad stuff about yourself. Like, you literally have to be in a place where you love yourself to healing. Love yourself. Show yourself grace. The way you show others grace, show yourself grace. I remember I used to have to eat Wawa ice every day. It started with a cup a day. It went to 3 of the big refillable containers a day, right? And people would tell me, you can't, it's not good for you. You're going to mess your teeth up. And I did. My teeth are sensitive, right? But I had to have that ice. I had to. It was a deep craving. It was a biological, physiological craving that I had. And some of your sin is a biological, physiological craving. It is connected to chemicals in your body. It's connected to vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Like, it's connected to something that can be in your DNA. But listen, y'all, listen. Can you love yourself in spite of? Can you love yourself even when you mess up? I said, come on now, you can do better. Let's do better. We got to do better. Let's do better. We got to do better. We can do better. We will do better. It's already done, because I am da 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 da. One day I looked up and I no longer craved the ice. I don't even know when the change happened. Stop trying to control everything. You can't control everything, but control what you can control. Trust the God in you to get you to that place, but embrace the process. Embrace it. Don't fight it. The more you fight it, the more you sink. Embrace it. This is where I am. But God, I know what you said about me. This is not real. This is a mirage. This is not my portion. God, I believe you. And you tell God what you believe and keep saying what you believe over what you see and what you believe will manifest. You all, listen, God is doing incredibly, exceedingly, and abundantly beyond all that we could think or ask. And I'm excited about it. I just want to say this to you, and I want you to hear it in the spirit in which I'm sending it. No matter how messed up you are, I love you. Now, I may not be able to deal with you in certain ways, but it doesn't mean I don't love you. Nor am I in a place where I'm judging you and you're just such a horrible person. Sometimes what we do is just so deeply rooted in us that we don't even realize that we're doing it. So why beat people up? It may seem like it has something to do with you, but it really doesn't have anything to do with you. It's really deeper than that. So today, love yourself. Love yourself to being not double-minded, okay? Love yourself to it. Don't beat yourself up because you've done it, because you won't change it. You just will create more division. Just love yourself on this journey. Listen, you guys, if this word has blessed you, if you feel compelled to sow a seed, my Cash App is Cash App $ DRV Walters, Cash App $DRV Walters, or PayPal.me/DRV Walters, PayPal.me/DRV Walters. Like today, I feel a little tired. I'm going to allow myself to rest. I got to speak to a group of young women at 1 o'clock where God orchestrated my steps, ordered my steps, like set this all up because he knew that they were going to need to hear what I have to say today at 1 p.m. To them, they're participating in the Juneteenth pageant, but they want to quit. Some people want to quit. We're not quitting. Um, but I met the woman that runs the pageant. And all the years that I'd been in Tampa, as much of a pageant girl as I am, I hadn't met the person running that pageant, hadn't participated in, hadn't had anything to do with it. But I saw her and I did what God said to do as it related to her. And it opened that door for me to reach the young women. You know, I'm serious about being pressure personified. When you look up pressure in the definition, you're going to see me because my presence is pressure. My presence is pressure. Not because I'm trying to put pressure on you, but because I'm simply determined to be me. And that creates pressure to people who are trying to be who the world wants them to be. I'm not doing that. So pressure personified is happening. Y'all, do y'all know that God is so incredible? Let me tell you what God did. What God did was I had been trying to get like Klarna or something so that when people purchase my products or a workshop or a retreat, that they would be able to split the payments up. Like I would get all my money, but they would be able to split the payments up. Why now has God just allowed Afterpay on my checkouts? So when you get an invoice from me, you're going to have the opportunity to use Afterpay. Afterpay is where you make 4 payments, whatever the price is, you're able to make 4 payments bi-weekly, I think it is. Something like that. So it's an amazing thing. So when I tell you all that I'm doing Pressure Personified, the mentoring group for girls that are like 17 to 26, and then the one for women 27 and up. I mean that. I mean that right there. And check this out. You're going to be able to use Afterpay to pay for the year. So it's going to be subscription based, $20 a month or $200 for the year. And you can use Afterpay. Listen, if you want to know more about the group, if you want the checkout link for that, say Pressure Personified, put Pressure Personified in the comments, and I'll make sure that I'll get that to you. I know, Lori, I still got to get the link to you for the young lady. But I'm telling you, the Afterpay thing, that thing, like I was like, what? Y'all listen. Do it for the year, get it out of the way. Do it for the year, get it out of the way so you don't have that recurring hit, right? Men, don't despair. I'm going to do something for the men. I'm going to do something for the men. Because listen, I can never tell a man how to be a man. But there's a gift that I have. There's a gift that I have when it comes to speaking life into men. And I know that it's a gift from God. And I'm not going to deny it because I'm not a man, right? I believe that there's some things that men need a woman to speak into them. Because it's it deals with that mama trauma. Deals with that mama trauma. It deals with that relationship trauma from women. You know, the trauma that women have created, women need to heal, right? And I believe that that's an important piece in the puzzle that we sometimes miss. The trauma that women have experienced at the hands of men. Like my daddy, it really has helped to heal a lot of my male trauma. Whether it was things that my other daddy was not able to give me, or it was things that were said and done in relationships. So he has help me to heal some wounds. And I'm not saying I'm totally healed. I'm definitely a work in process always, but like it has helped a lot. So if you want to be a part of Pressure Personified, put Pressure Personified in the comments. I'll make sure I get you the link and the information. We're going to kick off the 26th of June. It's going to be our first session. This is going to be our first session. I'm super excited about that. So we got a little time to build up and to get people registered so that you can be a part of this journey. It's going to last. It's going to be, listen, y'all, I'm excited because some stuff is really getting ready to happen because we're going to do some stuff as well. So look, y'all know this. Know that I love you guys to life and life more abundant. Have an absolutely amazing, incredible, and epic day. Why? Because you are the apple of God's eye. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And listen, guess what else? He who began a good work in you is faithful and just to bring it to completion until the coming of Christ. Let's get it done. Be blessed. Mwah.